Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha, Paditaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I'm going to just go through a couple of things to be careful about, like things that can hurt relationships. And then we will have our amazing, spectacular 2 dramas. Wow. I tell you what. Yeah, it's going to be pretty amazing. But first of all, though, like I said, how to destroy relationships. And we're not going to go into it a whole lot, but just touch on some things to bear in mind, to be careful not to do, because they will hurt your relationships and they will hurt you. Yeah, and that's really bad. So, here's some things. Don't go to events that you're invited to. If people take the trouble to invite you to some birthday or just some event, they took the trouble to contact you. So it's personal. But then if you don't go, it'll hurt the relationship. Only ever meet on your own terms. In other words, don't be flexible to meet with people as they want, but only on your own terms. Don't deal with personal issues, or don't be honest about personal issues. These things, because people you're dealing with regularly, they will see the patterns in your life and in your interactions. So if you're not honest about personal issues, they'll see. And someone was telling me yesterday, I won't mention any names, but you all know him. He told me he has got a reputation at work for being unreliable. And that, anyway. So if you're unreliable, if you're inconsistent, if you ignore existing friends or you neglect them, if you hold on to past hurts, if you try to avoid accountability, if something is your fault but you won't admit it, these things, they hurt relationships. And here's one. You must listen to this one. Écoutez-moi, s'il vous plaît. Écoutez-moi bien. If you want to damage relationships, I tell you what, I've seen it with my own eyes. Wow. Don't respond to emails or messages or phone calls. Don't. And I tell you what, you'll hurt people bad. In Durban, we were having one, not Rath Yatra, but what we call a tent campaign. Means we go into one area, put up a big, like a pandal, and do a program for like 5 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the leader, he's a Namahata leader, he wanted that a deity of Prabhupada come for the last day, which is the main day. And so he contacted the devotee who was the temple president, who you probably don't know anyway, I won't mention his name. And he contacted him like 5 times. Please, can Srila Prabhupada come? And only once he got hold of the devotee, he left so many messages. And in the end, the president just sort of ignored him. And that devotee, because I was sort of the head of the tent campaign, and the devotee came to me and he was crying like a grown man, probably 40 or 45 years old, and like a highly placed manager in his company, and he was crying because he wanted to do this service for Prabhupada, but the temple president just wouldn't deal with him. Wow, it was amazing. So, by doing these things, at best, you'll get a reputation. But at worst, you'll just devastate people, really, really hurt people. So, and last but not least, always be, quote unquote, if you know what I mean, busy. I'm always busy. I'm always too busy. I'd like to come, but I'm always too busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. Busy, busy. Like I mentioned, because, if you say, if you're invited to something, but you actually can't go because you have some real previous prior commitment, and if you just say, well, I'm busy, it's open to interpretation. What do you mean? And ultimately it's open to the interpretation that you're not important enough to me to take seriously. So, if you're in such a situation, then don't just say, I'm busy. But you have to explain to the person and hope that they'll understand, because just being busy is open to generally negative interpretations. So there are 5 phrases which can kill I can't access all 5 of them. I don't have internet. But there are 5 phrases which can, let me just close this lot. 5 phrases that can kill a relationship. And the best one, if you want to kill a relationship, the best phrase which will kill a relationship is, I'm busy. So if you are busy, if you're actually really busy, then be specific. Set a time frame when you can actually meet, a reasonable time frame. So you don't just say, oh, busy, sorry. So, ways to kill relationships. Things like someone's got a problem. Sometimes devotees say, oh, you call that a problem? I had something much worse. That's not a nice way to deal with something, but you can say, if you need help, you can always count on me. These are just responses to difficult situations. that if someone is a bit eccentric, you don't say, "You're weird," but you say, "You're not like anyone else I know. You always surprise me." Anyway, I'm not going to go into this whole subject so much, but these are some thoughts on how you can damage relationships, and therefore you really got to be careful. With either, it's mainly in regard to friends or equals, yeah. And if you're really busy, you don't say, "Oh, I'm extremely busy." You can say, "Sorry, I can't make it because a reason, but shall we meet tomorrow?" That's a nice way, as nice a way as is possible to deal with that sort of situation. Okay, so those are some thoughts on damaging, what to watch out for, which you could easily do, which could damage a relationship. What we're going to do now, devotees, we are going to do something really special. I mean, wow. We're going to have just only two dramas. And first of all, well, we can either have the ladies' drama or the gentleman's drama first. Should we say ladies first? That's very tasteful, isn't it? Are you ready, ladies? You're ready? Ready? Thank you. Come up here. Somewhere, I'm probably in the middle of the stage here. Where shall I move? In the corner, okay. As long as everyone can see. Because we don't want to miss this. Wow. Do you want a microphone?
There's a handle on there.
1 minute. You can handle it.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, everybody. We are going to do a small skit about not keeping confidentiality.
On Creole?
English. Oh, here is Nityananda, Kripa Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. Oh, what happened? You look very sad.
Oh, no, it's nothing, Mataji.
No.
It's nothing, Mataji. There's no problem.
Oh, you sure, Mataji? You don't look good. You can confide in me. It's okay. I can help you.
Oh, no, Mataji, it's okay. I'm fine.
You can trust me, You can tell me what's your problem.
Are you sure, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, you can trust me, believe me.
Okay, well, the thing is that I'm not feeling well for the last few days. And I asked my husband to help me with the cooking. And you won't believe what he did. He started throwing stuff at me. He was screaming at me. And he said that, women belong to the kitchen. Only the Mataji should cook. So you deal with your stuff, you do the cooking yourself. And I was unable to go to the market. And there was only one lost shushu left on the table. And he kind of lifted that shushu and threw it at me. The shushu is completely smashed. Now I have no food, Mataji.
I'm really shocked, Mataji. Such a bad person. Don't worry, Mataji, Krishna will help you. And if you want, you don't have prasad, please come at my place. Let's go.
Thank you, Mataji. I trust you.
You can trust me, Mataji. Krishna.
How are you?
I'm good, Mataji. How are you?
Fine too.
But actually, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I think Nityananda Kripa Mataji has some problems.
What is her problem?
She told me that her husband is hitting her and not giving her Lakshmi and not helping her to prepare food. As she's sick, she didn't have prasad, so I had to take her at my place. This is very bad, Mataji.
Oh, that's very bad. But she just got married. What happened to her? Oh, me.
I don't know, Mataji. It's, I was shocked. I know the Prabhu is such. I thought he was a nice Prabhu, but then now you see he's not so nice.
Okay, Mataji, so when you are free, we go and see her?
Okay, sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Nityananda Kripa Mataji. How are you?
I'm good, Mataji. And you?
I'm fine too, but I heard something else. I heard that you were being hit by your husband and everything, something like that. Is it true?
Oh, I'm so shocked. It's true, but I thought it was kept confidential.
Yes, but Mataji told me that Mataji Radhanam told me that you were being hit by your husband, you were ill and everything. What happened? You just got married a few months ago.
Oh, Mataji, what can I tell you now?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
It's Janmashtami. I don't know who to look for to do the services. Oh, here's Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. How are you?
I'm good, Mataji. And you?
I'm good too. Actually, Janmashtami is coming and so much to do. So we are looking persons to do garland for the ladies. Can you do it, Mataji?
Oh, I would like to, but I don't think I will be able to do it, Mataji. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mataji. No worries. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji Radhanam. How are you?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Brajasaki, Dr. I'm good, but I'm a bit worried. There's lots of services and I'm not finding anyone to do the service. I asked Nityananda Kripa Mataji, but she cannot do it.
Oh, what does she have?
By how she looks, she doesn't seem very well. So I think she cannot do it.
Let's go and see her. Let's go pay her a visit.
Yes, Mataji, I think this will be proper. This was like we are not judgmental about somebody.
Very good. Yes, he
Thank you.
Haribol.
I'm fine, Mataji.
I heard that you're ill, you're not being able to do your service for Janmashtami.
Yes, Mataji, I'm not feeling well. My health is not so good.
That's why Mataji Radhanam and myself have brought some soup for you.
Oh, thank you very
And
much, Mataji.
we are going to pray for you that you get well soon and be able to do your service properly.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Okay.
The Prabhu.
This is the Prabhu's, yes. Arabine. ladies. That was very nice. It's even better than I'd expected.
Hare Krishna. In this short drama we are going to portray. We are going to portray about two team spirit within a working devotee group. The scene will depict how upon the completion of the first phase of a major temple project, the temple leader, the team leader, will take all credit of the project, and thus show how we can inspire mutual relationship. The group leader clearly displays lack of humility, tolerance, patience, selfishness, and ego.
Hare Krishna. So, how are you? Fine? Okay, now that we have completed the first phase of this project, okay, I have done a great job, of course, with your help, isn't it? So, I am proud of myself. Of course, you were there. But you should remember that most of the time, I devoted myself to the project. And I think I'm the only one who has contributed enormously for the project.
Sir, but Ravi and you also contributed. Why?
No. I have worked hard. Yes, you have helped me. Doing some paperwork here and there. What does Ravi know? What does Ravi know?
Prabhuji, the paperwork was a marathatic. That was a big work. I know you are very charismatic, but that doesn't mean that you have to get all the credit.
No, what are you talking about? It is me. I have done. Not you. You were there, yes. So, what can I tell you? No, it is I have done the project. Again and again I'm telling you, it is me. It is my project. The first phase has been completed by me. Any question? No, don't ask any question. No question, please. It is me, it is my project. Yes? Any question? No, don't ask question. Yes? What are you remembering now among yourselves? Hey, what is happening? Hey guys, hey Prabhus.
Let's go.
Oh, please come back.
Yeah, we are coming.
Oh Krishna, I've been left alone. What can I do now?
How are you, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You seem to be very depressed. What happened?
Oh, I had a meeting. I had a meeting with some Prabhus. and about the first phase of the project. But they have left me alone.
Why? What actually happened regarding this first phase you're referring to?
Actually, the phase, I think, the first phase had been completed by me, and they were not happy. I was telling them again and again that the project is mine, but they have refused, and then they left the meeting.
Okay, Prabhu, I fail to understand how you are referring to yourself as taking all the credit for the project. Who actually initiated the project? Whose idea was it? Was it your idea?
Yes, we had a team. We were a team working on the project. Yes.
Teamwork. You said it teamwork, but how come finally you are alone? Where is your team? Where are the others? It's time, Prabhu, I think to realize that something is wrong somewhere. Remember what Prabhupada said? If you want to please me, then not only distribute my books, you must also cooperate among yourselves. It's never too late, Prabhu. We all make mistakes in life. Okay. It's good that we can realize and try to rectify our shortcomings. As a good friend of yours, I'm always ready to assist you, to help you. Shall we meet tomorrow?
Yeah.
Thank you. Krishna.
Sure.
As a group leader, upon introspection, realize that he has made a big mistake, a big blunder, and how he damaged the relationship between his team. Upon meeting a senior devotee, then he realized how he was mistaken and how his ego took over. So he then realized his mistake and called another meeting to seek forgiveness with his team.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear friends. Today, I've realized that I've made a great mistake. So, please forgive me, because I realized that this project that we have done, it's not only my project. Without your help, without your support, the project would not have been completed. So please forgive me if I have offended you. So I'm very happy also to have you as my friends, as my colleagues, and every time I realize that without your contribution, we would not, the first phase would not have been completed.
Thank you. At last, you realize that it's a team project, so everyone has its own contribution. Even me, at times, I've been spending nights without families, so as to submit the project to its deadline. It was huge. The fact that you didn't realize how much effort we put. And every time you are always pretending us. So that's, it was a bit tremendous situation for us. So we could not hold it who prefer to leave. But we have never been against you because you are our dear friend. So if at last you realize the mistake, we are ready to work again with you to complete this project of the temple construction.
Hare Krishna Babu, so let's do it together. Haribol.
Haribol. So please forgive me. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. So much talent here. You should make a drama department. Okay. Well, thank you, devotees. Merci beaucoup. Beaucoup. That's really great. Okay, devotees, so let's just have a look at our little scheme here. Right. First of all, where am I? What am I going to do first here? I am going to 4. Okay. All right. Let us go into part 4 in our outline. Relationships of seniors to juniors. So we're going to mainly take the position of seniors and consider how we should deal with juniors. But in the course of it, as you'll see if you look through the different points under part 4, there's the angle also, if you're a junior, how do you feel about your senior? We'll get to that. But first of all, relationships of seniors with juniors, because you're all, everyone is like earlier, everyone's a junior. We've all got someone, at least one person who's senior to us, and usually we got a few people who are senior to us. So generally we've all got a person who's junior to us. I remember when I joined the temple in London, it was actually January the 7th, would you believe, 1973. This coming up the 7th, whenever it is, it's next, anyway, whenever it is, it's going to be my 50th anniversary. So my first regular service was, at first I would just do whatever they wanted, help out in this way or that. Then after I'd been living in the temple for a while, like 1 week, then I was made the pot washer. The pot washer. My first regular, like everyday service, and for hours, for the whole day. And we had no hot water in the temple. It was London. It is cooler than Mauritius, particularly in January. There's no hot water. We had no soap, for washing the pots, no soap. We just had some metal pads. What a job that was. So that was my first regular service, but they could see it was really difficult, so they gave me an assistant. And now I was the chief pot washer. Promotion. You know. And I had someone to say, do this. No, don't do it like that. Do it like this. But I didn't do that. Yeah, but anyway, I felt important. I had become a senior. I had been a devotee 1 week. And I already had someone who was junior to me. So like this, you know, amongst us all here, if I look around, who's the youngest? I don't know who's the youngest. Anyway, it's okay, someone is. But whoever's the youngest, there's still someone junior to you. And if there isn't, there will be in a few days, because people come and get involved and join. So therefore, generally every one of us, there are some devotees who we are senior to. And how are we now going to interact with those devotees who we are senior to? This is a very important thing. You know, in the working world, just the ordinary materialistic world, well, I worked, believe it or not, before I became a devotee. I worked on and off for almost about 4 years. Yeah, about 4 years. I worked as a journalist in Auckland, New Zealand. And you know what, the first thing, you become a journalist, I wanted to become a writer. And you know what the first job they gave me? Making tea for everyone. I became the tea boy. And whenever anyone wanted a cup of tea, I had to run off and get the cup of tea. So, yeah, that's not really the way to treat juniors, you know, to take advantage of them and engage them in your service because you're senior. In our verse, the verse of Narada Muni, the verse of Narada Muni from the 4th canto, he says there, when the devotee meets someone less qualified than himself, which basically means junior, when you meet someone less qualified or junior to yourself, then you, the devotee, should be compassionate. This is the word. And this is just super important, to be compassionate to the junior devotees. You know, I remember when I joined, like I said, I joined the temple January the 7th, 1973. And the devotees, there were like between 50 and 60 of us living in this small temple. I'd say half the size, less than half the size of the current Phoenix temple. But there were at least 50 of us, 50 or 60. I remember the first morning, talk about being a junior. The first morning I woke up in the temple and I got up and there was a shower room upstairs and there was a queue. Everyone got 15 seconds. There was a timekeeper. Really. And so I'm in the queue, gradually moving forward to, you know, it'll be my turn in a minute. And then suddenly it's my turn. So when I go into the shower, it's January in London. You know, there wasn't snow, but it was probably 5 degrees or 3 degrees. Almost freezing. It really was cold. So I went in, okay, there's only one tap. It's the cold tap. So I'm looking around, where's the hot tap? I stuck my head out. I said, where's the hot tap? And the fellow, the devotee said, Prabhu! Prabhu! We don't use hot water, it's Maya, sense gratification. Yeah. And you've only got 10 seconds left. So it was a quick and really cold shower. She was. And so I came out, and I'm just pointing out some of the things the devotees did which are not so good when you're dealing with a junior, because I was the junior. So nobody had their own clothes. There was a box, a big, what they call a tea box. It's like about this high, made of wood. It's a big box full of dhotis and kurtas. So I grabbed a dhoti and a kurta, which were not matching, but anyway, it was a dhoti and a kurta. And I had to figure out how to put on a dhoti by watching the others do it. Nobody told me. And I sort of figured out, but it looked a bit weird. Then I looked for socks because it was cold. And I found a red sock, but its brother was not present. There was a blue sock. So I had the red and the blue sock. And one devotee walked by with the brother of the red sock. And I said to him, I wasn't even using the term Prabhu because I didn't know what it meant, but I said, oh, could we swap? And he looked at me and said, Prabhu, don't be so attached. So I spent the morning program with a red sock and a blue sock. But this is not how to really treat juniors. And we had to put tilak on. In this lifetime, I had not yet put on tilak. So I went up to the mirror. The mirror, no joking, was about that size. And only one mirror in the whole building, at least the men's quarters. And the mirror, this little, one of these little pocket mirrors, which they took out of its frame and glued it on the wall. And there was a sign above the little mirror. The sign was bigger than the mirror. And the sign said, mirror is Maya. So, they're very enthusiastic, which is always good, or usually good. But in terms of looking after the new boys, the thing was that I was really determined. I really wanted to become a devotee. But, I really had to put up with a lot. They didn't make it easy for me. Really, at all. Yeah. And I remember one boy, actually later on, I had this experience that there was one boy, Bhakta John, and Bhakta John didn't live in the temple, but he would come in every day and wash the pots and clean the prasadam room. Right, so now he's cleaning the prasadam room, and I was in the prasadam room. For some reason I was there, and he's cleaning the floor. And one devotee, older devotee, came by. So there's Bhakta John, doing whatever, cleaning the floor. And the older devotee said, Prabhu, you don't do it like this. You do it like that. And showed him some other way of, there's not that many ways to sweep the floor, but showed him another way. So now John's doing it in the other way. And then a second devotee came through, not more than a minute later. And there, so John's doing the floor in the other way. And the other devotee came in and said, Prabhu, you don't do it like that. You do it like this. And really like this. Come on, wake up sort of tone of voice. And so John said, oh, sorry, okay, all right. So now he's cleaning the floor in this other way. And not more than a minute later, another older devotee came in. And just, what happened. Prabhu, don't do it in that way. Do it in this way. So they think they're helping, to improve things. But actually, and poor old John, after the third time, he was more or less in tears. He was sort of paralyzed. He just sort of stood there with the broom like, can't manage. So dealing with juniors, Narada Muni said that when you meet someone less qualified, basically means junior, you should be compassionate. So when we're dealing with younger devotees, we should be compassionate. In fact, the basic mood, you can say in terms of rasa, just to use the terminology at least of rasa. I mean, we shouldn't start thinking that we're in one of the rasas, but in simple terms, the basic mood in dealing with juniors should be parental mood, not the mood of being the boss. Yeah. When I was there were a number of young devotees, new devotees. There was about 6 or 7 of us who'd all joined, within, say, a couple of months of each other, something like that. But I think only 2 of us survived, so to speak, because it was tough. They were tough. They were really pretty tough on us. And, I'm sure they thought that they were doing the right thing, that, we don't want any nonsense, got to straighten out these young people. But devotees became depressed and disturbed and left. And that's really bad. So the basic idea is that seniors should have a parental attitude towards juniors. I'm sure a number of you are parents. I know quite a number of you are anyway, so the basic idea. So it includes a few different things. Giving guidance, giving directions, helping solve problems, giving sort of like spiritual nutrition to the juniors, giving protection, giving encouragement to the juniors. There are different ways of correcting fault. I forget if it was last night or this morning, I mentioned a little about correcting fault in other devotees. Correcting fault is one of the most important, but one of the most, you could say, delicate aspects of the whole of Krishna consciousness. Correcting fault. I mentioned, was it last night, how to tell a person to go to hell in such a way they look forward to the journey. Yeah. I mean, it's a real skill. It's a real skill. Because normally if you see fault, just in ordinary material life, you see someone's doing something stupid that they really shouldn't do and they're messing things up, then oftentimes or generally or whatever it may be, the tendency will be, if you see that and you realize, wait a minute, you don't do it like that. Your approach would be something like those devotees who tried to correct Bhakta John. Incidentally, I came back and visited London some years, like 10 years later, and guess what? Bhakta John was still washing the pots in the kitchen. Yeah, he was still living outside, coming in every day and washing the pots. So, yeah, we have to give guidance, like a parent. And the thing is, parents, generally, they have feeling for the children. It's not just like a job. You know, don't do this, do that. Oh, okay, yes, sir. You know, bringing up children, there has to be the element of affection, of love. I mean, generally there is. I mean, some cases, you know, you get parents who get agitated with their children, they hit the children. But if you want to correct fault, unless it's some sort of emergency where the behavior has to be changed quite drastically, immediately, otherwise there's going to be like real problems. Generally, in that sort of situation, you would probably have to be strong and don't do this, do that. But otherwise, to correct fault, the best thing is to be compassionate, to be kind, and to explain things nicely in an affectionate mood. And then the devotee who's being corrected, the junior, because you're now in the position of a senior, the junior is actually going to feel the fact, let's say the fact that you actually care. You're actually interested and you actually want the best for them. And you're not trying just to tell them they're wrong, but you're trying to help them. You're trying to help them do better and become better, and in this way become happier in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, this being a senior, it's really quite something to do it really effectively. There were times when Prabhupada shouted at disciples, but he didn't do it often. I was reading just a little while ago, a few weeks ago, Srila Prabhupada was staying in a temple in America for a little while, and he walked, it was like late mid-morning or late-ish morning. Breakfast had happened, and people didn't have their own plate, but there was a whole stack of plates, and when prasadam time came, you just took a plate and got prasadam. So that after prasadam, they just left the plates in the sink. And so all the plates are there, and it's basically a mess. And so one devotee was down there chanting, and Srila Prabhupada came down. And Prabhupada saw all those dirty plates in the sink, And Prabhupada asked, what is going to happen to the plates? And the devotee gave some sort of answer, well, they're going to be cleaned in a while. But, there's a saying, debt, fire, and disease should be extinguished immediately. Dirty plates should also be extinguished immediately. Because they're just dirty for one thing, but they can create a contaminated atmosphere. I was in class in 1973. Prabhupada came and stayed at Bhaktivedanta Manor for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, after we just got Bhaktivedanta Manor. And he was in the mornings, he would give Bhagavad Gita class. So at the end of one class, I was present, and the temple president from Edinburgh, Scotland, asked Prabhupada a question. He said to Prabhupada that in our temple in Edinburgh, it's a very old building, it's 300 years old, and there are many rats. So, and rats are dirty, rats are dangerous if they bite. You can get rabies. So, Srila Prabhupada, is it all right if we kill the rats? And Srila Prabhupada answered, if you kill the rats, you should be killed. And the devotee didn't get it, the temple president. He didn't get it. So he repeated the question. It's an old building, Srila Prabhupada, and there are many rats, and they're dangerous. So is it all right if we kill the rats? And Prabhupada just repeated the answer, that if you kill the rats, you should be killed. So, in Bhaktivedanta Manor, we didn't have rats when we moved in. We had mice. There weren't any rats. I think they were killed by the mice, because there were so many mice, they probably overpowered the rats. And I remember I would offer Mongol Arati sometimes, and the mice would be on the altar dancing in the kirtan for Mongol Arati. And I'd chase them off the altar and go back to offering whatever I was offering. But they'd be back already. There's so many mice. If you ever walked into a room and there was nobody in the room, there'd be mice there. So, what to do? Well, we knew we couldn't kill the mice, because of what Prabhupada said. So the devotees thought of a brilliant idea, very Krishna conscious idea. They got a cat. And take a guess, a female, take a guess what they called, the name they gave the cat. Nrsimha Devi was the cat. And I tell you, within about a week, Nrsimha Devi had put on about 5 kilos from getting so many mice. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. But the thing is, we've got to be very careful in dealing with younger devotees. We've got to be compassionate and kind and affectionate. I mean, of course, to be affectionate, you've got to have some affection. And if you really chant nicely, then your heart will be softened, and you'll tend to have that mood more. So like this is how we should see the young devotees. The devotees who I mentioned earlier, who, they got on my case for this and that. I went to my first Bhagavatam class, and, let's face it, I was not used to Vaishnava cleanliness, so I was wearing the same socks I had worn the day before. And I tell you what, and they were a little fragrant, you could say. And the person giving me the class, he threw me out of the class. He threw me out and said something like, "You stink," or something like that. If it had been, a number of other devotees, they would have left, because it was really, not so nice. Even you know what, when the first day I visited the temple, ever, an ISKCON temple, it's like right at the end of December 72. So there I am, first time in the temple. I don't know what's going on at all. And they just gave me some beads and said, "Yeah, we chant 16 rounds. There you go." I'd never been in a temple before. And I bought a set of little paperback Krishna books, put them down, went to do something, came back, they were gone. And I said, "Could I have another set?" And they said, "Oh, you'll have to buy them." So then, after a few hours in the temple, they asked me, "Would you mind doing something to help?" I thought, really, I'm a guest. You meant to sort of look after me. But no, do you mind doing something to help? Okay, all right. I was an easygoing fellow. And you know what? My first service was devotees to clean the toilets. I do not recommend that when people come for the first time, or even the second time, or even the third time, don't give them that sort of service. You got to look after them so they feel like, this is good, I like this, this is nice. They feel comfortable and, looked after. People are interested in them. Although I must say, when I went to clean the toilets, after about 2 minutes, I felt ecstatic. It was amazing. Yeah, I really felt so good. But because it was devotional service. But still, I would not engage a new devotee like that as a senior devotee. You have to really look after them and give them attention and like that, so they feel cared for, and answer their questions nicely, in a friendly way, not like you're the boss. This is all very, very, very important. So I have a few points here. It's another list of things which I suggest you write down. Things you can do to encourage juniors. First of all, I want to read something from Prabhupada. So there's a very famous letter actually of Prabhupada's. Some of you may well be familiar with it. So Prabhupada, I forget actually who it was to and when it was, but Prabhupada says, so the future of this Krishna consciousness movement is very bright, so long the managers remain vigilant that 16 rounds are being chanted by everyone without fail, that they're all rising before 4 in the morning, attending Mongol Arati. Our leaders shall be careful not to kill the spirit of enthusiastic service, which is individual and spontaneous and voluntary. The managers, they should try always to generate some atmosphere of fresh challenge to the devotees, so that the devotees will agree enthusiastically to rise and meet the challenge. That is the art of management, to draw out a spontaneous, loving spirit of sacrificing some energy for Krishna. So it's a very famous letter. Some of you may have encountered it before. It's a really very famous letter of how to, you could say manage, or you could say really how to give leadership in a Krishna conscious yatra. To draw out spontaneous loving spirit of sacrificing some energy for Krishna. So this is empowering. We're empowering. We're not just being the boss. Do this. Do that. Don't do it like that. Why you do it like that? Do it like this. Come on. Wake up. Not like that. But empowering, drawing out a spontaneous spirit that I want to do something for Krishna. I'm happy to please Krishna. So we can empower, we can correct. I had said, how sensitive it is correcting devotees, and particularly the very junior devotees, but particularly all devotees really. So we can empower others by encouraging, appreciating, and complimenting them, as well as by giving them training. There's a famous series of books by someone, his name, as I recall, is Blanchard. If any of you, have studied these books by these so-called management gurus, these people who write all these books about how to, when I was young, Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people. So there's a series of books, and they're really good. And the principles presented there, they're quite compatible, at least in many ways or certain ways, with Krishna consciousness. And the idea is, instead of catching the junior doing something wrong and saying, what are you doing? Like that. But you catch them doing something right, and then appreciate how they're doing something right. It doesn't always work, but generally, if we encourage devotees, appreciate when they're doing something right, we compliment them for it. That will get better results from the juniors than chastising them. Like when I joined, the basic program was chastise. And there were not so many survivors. Most of them just sort of drifted off fact, one of them, Bhakta Doug, I remember Bhakta Doug to this day. He got chastised so heavily. He went over to a window and he just punched a hole in the window, one of the windows in the temple building, because he was just so frustrated with being chastised. And we never saw him again. Yeah. So therefore, in dealing with juniors, like we say, we should encourage, appreciate, and compliment, as well as give training, which involves pointing out, do it this way, not that way. You know, it's obviously sooner or later going to mean pointing out, do it this way and not that way. But by doing these things in this mood, then the juniors feel cared for, and that you're really interested in them, you want to help them, and that they're not just free labor. Yeah. They're not just free labor, but they're doing something which is a service to Krishna for their spiritual development, something which is going to help them. So we should give them some trust. Of course, you have to be a little careful how much trust, but show some trust in them, give them some responsibility, and otherwise you disempower people. No, disempower means they lose Shakti. They lose Shakti, and they become just sort of, they may do things, but it becomes mechanical, and there's not that spirit of inspiration. So disempowered people will find it more and more difficult to cooperate. So if we're leaders, managers, leaders, there's a difference, big difference between being a manager and being a leader. So particularly if we have some leadership role, we shouldn't just try to create yes men or yes women. We should train them to use their intelligence, use their creativity, develop their individual abilities in devotional service. So this is kind of like being a senior, but in a scientific type of way. Yeah, there's real depth to it. Yes. So here's some ideas, which actually, you know what? Let me give credit where credit is due. You know where I got these ideas from? I got these ideas from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, who was really into this sort of thing. Working with people, trying to bring the best out of people. So if you are a senior and you've got some juniors and you want not just to get the job done by pushing them around and getting them to work hard, but you want to get them to really develop the mood of Krishna consciousness and to be inspired and excited to do service, even some menial service, then you can try and do some of these things. Yeah. And I'd advise you to note these things down. Go above and beyond. Make a special effort to personally help them. Means, well, of course it means, first of all, to help them deal with service issues, challenges that come up in devotional service. But then actually, a really great leader, a really good leader, should keep his or her eyes open because ladies can also be leaders, very much so. So the leaders should have their eyes open how to help them with personal issues also, not just things to do with the service directly and just getting things done. Yes, so it could be something, for example, it could be something to do with their family issues. And this, if you look after people like that, beyond just the scope of the immediate situation in devotional service, but take an interest in their personal lives and trying to help them with, I mean, obviously you can't take control of their personal lives, but, you know, as you're able to help them with their personal matters, then, you know, this will create loyalty towards you in their hearts. This is one thing that Prabhupada was so expert at, creating loyalty. Just one little story, actually, I should have mentioned a few minutes ago, about correcting fault. Prabhupada correcting fault. A couple of points. Yeah. Well, I was mentioning a few points even. I mentioned about Prabhupada went down to the prasadam room, the plates were dirty. Well, you know what Prabhupada did? He started washing the plates. He started washing the plates himself. And the devotee who had been chanting his rounds was shocked, and he took over, of course. Yeah. Another time, this is all back in 26, or back in the early days. This one is 26 2nd Avenue, New York. Prabhupada asked them, you know, clean the temple room. Okay. And he came back down to see how they're doing. And basically what they were doing, they had a mop and a bucket of water. They hadn't changed the water for, like, you know, they're more than halfway through the temple room. So they stick the mop in the dirty water and then wave it around on the floor. And all they're basically doing is moving the dirt from one side to another. So Prabhupada came in and said, no, let me show you how to do it. And he got 2 buckets, one with clean water, one for the dirty water, and a couple of rags. And he literally got on his actual hands and knees. He didn't just wave a mop around. And he personally showed them how to clean the floor. Yeah. Then the other one, correcting devotees. Right in the very beginning, before the devotees knew about things like only eating prasadam, or even we don't eat meat. No, really, really early days. Prabhupada, the devotees, some were living in the temple, 26 2nd Avenue, and they do a bit of service. Then they go out during the day and mess around and visit their friends and things. And just up the road, there was a hamburger bar. Yeah, with hamburgers and all that sort of thing. And some of them used to hang out in the hamburger bar. And one day Prabhupada went for a walk, so he had something to do, and he walked up, and they were in the hamburger bar. They didn't notice him. But then Prabhupada walked back past the hamburger bar. They're sitting there, a group of maybe 5 or 6 of them, eating their hamburgers, and they saw Prabhupada walking by, and they didn't know about these things. So they smiled and waved to Prabhupada over their hamburgers. And when they got back later on, Prabhupada, he didn't say to them, what are you doing? Etc., etc. But Prabhupada, all he said was, you know what? We normally don't eat meat, actually. Yeah. We normally just eat vegetarian food, which is offered to Krishna. And the devotees were like, oh, really? But he did it so nicely. They didn't feel, they got the message, but they didn't feel like they'd been chastised. So, in my experience, fair amount of experience at least, if you want to correct a junior, it is generally far more effective to be, very sensitive and do it very nicely with them than, chastise and ask them what they're doing and why they're doing and don't you know, and, these sorts of ideas like you're a bit of a fool actually. It usually does not work so well. Here we're interested in the result. What's the result going to be? And we want the result to be that the behavior is changed, but not just the behavior, but the consciousness is changed so that they feel that they have been helped. This is good. They have gained something, and they're grateful for your correcting them. This is like the science, you could say. It's really scientific. How to deal with fault. Yeah. So this is something you should bear in mind. So anyway, we'll continue with these points. How to treat juniors so they feel inspired. So we said, first of all, go above and beyond to help them, as you're able. As you're able. Yeah. Then, of course you're senior. You are the senior. They know you're the senior. And, they're not assuming you're just one of them. So relate to them nicely, not like, you're above them and you're just you're really imposing yourself on them. So if you see a junior having a problem, like in their service, something you've dealt with before, go over there and show them how to do it. Yeah. And even don't feel afraid to show a little vulnerability. Yes. Even your some imperfection in helping them overcome their challenges. I had a nice experience with Giriraj Maharaj years ago, like late 80s in Johannesburg. There was a team of Mauritian devotees who came to raise funds to build the temple in Phoenix, which is finally coming up. This was almost 30 years ago. And do any of you know Mother Sudevi? Veda Krishna Prabhu would know her. I don't know if any of you others know Mother Sudevi. She's, I think, in England. She's been in England a long time now. But she's Mauritian.
She's in India.
Oh, in India? She's a Mauritian and been a devotee long time. You know, that was, like I say, almost 30 years ago. And she'd come over to South Africa to raise funds for building the temple for Radha Golokananda. So Maharaj and I went to pick her up from the airport. That's the first thing. We didn't just send, you know, a driver. We went to get her ourselves. He at the time was the GBC. I was the temple president. And so we got her. It was late at night. And we brought her back. It was probably, 9 o'clock at least, or later. And we all got out of the vehicle. And Mother Sudevi, she had a couple of suitcases. And so we opened up the back. She took out one of the suitcases. Giriraj Maharaj took out the other one. And he carried it down to her room himself. Yeah. And he's her guru. He's her spiritual master. And he's the GBC. But he just did it. Just like that. So when you do things like this, you might feel you're sort of lowering yourself in their eyes. But with devotees, it generally won't be like that, because generally, they're generally very respectful towards seniors. So if you're the senior, but you do something like that for them, not acting like you're above them, then it also helps. It helps them develop loyalty towards you, which really helps when you're a leader. Another interesting thing with Giriraj Maharaj Singh, I'm talking about him. It was probably late 80s, it might have been early 90s, in Durban, in our Radha Radhanath temple. And it was some feast, some festival day, and the program finished at night. Maybe it was Ram Navami, I can't remember, but it was raining outside, so we couldn't have prasadam outside, and we had to use the temple room, taking prasadam. So everyone sat down, and the devotees came along, and everyone was sitting down, and the devotees came along and served the prasadam like that, not buffet style. So we're sitting there. Maharaj is at the head of the line. I'm next to him, or somewhere close. And the servers come and serving Maharaj first. And suddenly, within about a minute or two, Maharaj jumped up. He said, "I'm tired of being served. I want to do some service." And he then he grabbed, they're serving out of these buckets, stainless steel buckets. He just grabbed a bucket and a spoon, and he started serving prasadam. So, for those who are her seniors, leaders, not that you can do it every time if you want, but you don't have to, but from time to time. It's really nice to do things like that, which show the devotees, make it clear to the devotees you don't really feel you're above them and you're better than them. Then another thing Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj suggested is sometimes do things which set you apart, like give them special perks, if you know what I mean. If you've got your team of devotees, take them on a picnic sometime. Have a special feast. If there's Saturday, I don't know if you do it here, but many places on Saturdays, So many devotees go out distributing books, and when they come back, there's a big feast. Yeah, like this. So these things, if you organize these things as a senior, as a leader, then the devotees will appreciate. Then also, because you're the senior, you're a leader, you have to give correction sometime, inevitably. You'll have to give some correction. One point is, don't correct too frequently, unless it's really an emergency. Everyone's got some sort of little personality quirks and eccentricities and funny ways of doing some things. Don't correct people too often, because it'll burn their enthusiasm out. But from time to time, be transparent, give them real feedback, but in an honest way, but a very nice way. Then make time for them. I mentioned this, the fault of being busy, always being busy. No matter what anybody else is doing, and if they need some help, but you're always too busy. Yeah. And as the saying goes, in Kali Yuga, being busy, if you say I'm busy, it's just like saying I'm alive. Yeah. It's just normal. So make time for them. Give them some time to sit down and hear them. And when you hear them, then what do we say? Seek to understand before trying to be understood. This is like really one of the golden rules in leadership, in management, both management and leadership. First of all, try to understand before trying to be understood. It's like one of the golden rules. So yeah, from time to time, arrange, even yourself proactively, invite, please come to the junior, come and meet with me and have a discussion. Yeah, and get the report from them directly. Then talk to them personally about their lives, what they're trying to do, and their background, all these types of things. Be interested in the juniors, be interested in who they are, what sort of person they are. Yeah, all these things deepen the relationships with the juniors, and not just in the sense of being diplomatic or politically correct, but in a very genuine way show that you actually care. And like I said, Prabhupada, he got such loyalty, such incredible loyalty from his devotees, because he really went out of his way for the devotees. So, right, yeah, even, you can do, sometimes it's not such a good idea, but if you're a leader, if you're a senior, you can sometimes have what they call an open door policy. That you just leave the door open. And if they want, they can just come in and meet with you. You can't always do that. It depends how busy you are, but sometimes to do that. And here's a good one from Prabhupada. And I must say, at least in South Africa, I've adopted this myself. Keep a bowl of sweets on your desk. And when the devotees come and see you, at the end, you give them some prasadam. Yes. I mean, it's just really good. Prabhupada did that all the time. And, you know, you've heard of the ISKCON bullets. Yeah, the ISKCON bullets. That's where it came from. Either Simply Wonderfuls or Gulab Jamans. And Prabhupada, one devotee was talking about the Simply Wonderfuls, and Prabhupada was talking about how important it is to distribute prasadam and specifically Simply Wonderfuls. And Prabhupada said, yes, the sweets are simply wonderful. Krishna consciousness is simply wonderful. You will be simply wonderful. Everything will just be simply wonderful. So there's one story, I don't know if you've heard of it, there's one old Prabhupada disciple, Tejas Prabhu. He's in South India now. He was, anyway, he just got married about some months before, not a long time. And Tamal Krishna Goswami, who had been a householder, had just taken sannyas by sort of insisting to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada finally agreed. So Tejas decided to approach Prabhupada and ask if he could take sannyas. But he had been a householder just a few months. So he came, and this is in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram temple. So he came to Prabhupada and said, you know, Srila Prabhupada, I'd like to take sannyas. Srila Prabhupada said, why? You're just married. And you've got a nice wife, she's good devotee. You don't need to take sannyas. Why you want to take sannyas? So Tejas tried to explain. And Prabhupada just said, here. He had a bowl of fruit, whole fruits on his plate. And Prabhupada gave him a banana. He said, here, just take this. And Tejas tried to carry on talking. Prabhupada picked up an orange. Take this. And Tejas tried to carry on speaking. Prabhupada gave him an apple. Just take this. In the end, Tejas's hand was full. And then Prabhupada said, here, take this, another one. And eventually Tejas had both hands full. And Prabhupada told him, you don't need to take sannyas. So then just immediately after, like a matter of maybe half an hour later, Prabhupada had a darshan. And there are many, many devotees filling his darshan room. And Tejas came in late. And there was one spot right in front of Prabhupada. So he had to clear his way through the devotees. To reach Prabhupada, and Prabhupada speaking, etc. And Tejas got about halfway through the crowd, and Prabhupada stopped talking. And Prabhupada said, Tejas Maharaj. And everyone laughed. And Tejas, he didn't take sannyas. Anyway, so, these dealings really need to be done very nicely in such, not just, the difference or maybe the main difference between management and leadership is that management means you just get things done, and leadership means you're actually, you're developing the people in Krishna consciousness, and so they get things done, but actually you're not just trying to get them to do things, you're trying to help them to become Krishna conscious. So you can also give, I already mentioned, I guess, You know, when the junior does something nicely, then you recognize, you express appreciation. It is not, you know, like just flattery, just, yeah, like that. It's not just flattery. To recognize when someone actually does something nice, to recognize it and give them, you know, and give them recognition and appreciation. Yeah. So, for example, someone has done some nice service, some junior done some nice service. So you could say that, you know, thanks for the hard work, Prabhu. That's good. It's not bad. But you could say, thanks for putting in so much hard work to successfully do that service, Prabhu. You said the same thing, but in a way which really, you know, it's much more of a reciprocation. Best here, best would be Prabhu, not Prabhu, but Prabhu. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your hard work to successfully carry out that service. You've really helped Prabhupada's movement, and you've really helped yourself to make progress in Krishna consciousness, which is all true. It's all true. You're not telling a story or just being, you know, a diplomat. Diplomats, politicians like Mr. Putin and Mr. Biden meet. And everyone knows they hate each other. Gosh. But they come up and they shake hands. Oh, big smile. How nice to meet you. They're not diplomatic like that, but it's just genuine. But in order to be able to do that and like do it effectively, so they actually feel the mood of appreciation, then we as leaders, as seniors, we have to not be in so much self-consciousness, but actually be interested in them and really try to sort of see into their hearts and see how they feel and understand how they feel about Krishna consciousness, what their aspirations are, like this. So in this example we just gave, that the good one, just thank you for the hard work, Prabhu. It's good, it's not bad, it's a lot better than just ignoring it. The good version is just too general. It could be aimed at anyone. Better at least mentions the specific accomplishment, but best is obviously the best, because it doesn't just mention the achievement, but why it's important and how it's beneficial. What do you think of this? Am I getting into things too much? Anyway, I feel this is very important. Also, showing that you're giving them some responsibility means showing them some trust. Yeah. Okay. Right. And then if you're a leader, if you're a senior, try and set as good example as you can. In terms of your sadhana, your general Krishna consciousness. Okay, so let's see, where to from here? You know, I think what we'll do now, devotees, we'll take a little break. I see some of you are nodding off, and yeah, you know. So let's take a break. First of all, I'll tell you what, we'll take a 15-minute break till 3:30, but the first thing we'll do is, everyone put your hands in the air. Levez vos mains, is that right? Something like that. And take a deep breath and say after me, après-moi, avec force. Is that right? Anyway, something like that. Very loud. After me, après-moi. Pas avec moi, après-moi. Hey! Whoa! It's okay. Anyway, let's not be defeated by it. Hare Krishna! I said loud. Avec forte, is it? Hare Krishna! 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 Hare Rama! Hare Rama! Rama Rama! Hare Hare! Mercy broken. Okay. Well done. All right, so there's more for us to get into. Let's take a 15-20 minute break. Chant a round or two or whatever, just take a break. But please be here by 4:25. Okay.